So it'll be interesting to see how we go in terms of when we prepare our state development plans, our development applications, and review some of the options that are available. So I mean, whilst the concept plan talks about a potential dwelling mix, that dwelling mix is not by no means mandated.
Sure.
So
whereas some of the statements of intent, the design concepts, what we're talking about, what that's talking about, diametrically opposed. And that's probably, from my reading of it and my knowledge of town planning law, it would be very hard to go and deliver something that is vastly different from the words that are actually there as part of the legislation. So my concern for Andrew is how it is that you actually deal with that, because it's rather more than a tweak.
There are some opportunities to make tweaks. We can make amendments if they're not greatly going to change the look or the functioning of the concept plan. And those are relatively simple to get through. If it is going to be a really major change, and I don't believe that any of your concerns have raised a major change, but if there were something, then we would make a major change, a variation to the territory plan, and it would take, what do you think, about 6 months?
Variation to the territory plan?
Yeah. I haven't done a variation yet, so you'll have to excuse me, but I imagine it's somewhere in that vicinity, but certainly we can work with your timetable. Yeah, how long is a piece of string?
Resources,
And the advice I have is that it should be possible to achieve the sorts of changes without having to go
that's what we think.
I mean, ultimately, the desired outcome would have to find its way into the territory plan in a more completely articulated manner, because what gets developed there, the LDA's role stops at the land sale. You won't be developing the properties, will you?
In this case, most probably not. That's something that we're just contemplating.
So then it becomes, so it gets down to, so the concept plan has got the status of a precinct plan, which trumps everything in the territory plan, subdivision code and the like, everything except for the zone. The precinct plan, I think, trumps zone, doesn't it?
No, I don't think so.
Right, zones, precincts, right. So apart from the zoning constraints, the precinct plan descriptions of what the developers of individual sites that you sell them have to stick to. So that's where, you know, the concerns sort of lie, because they're not going to turn around and offer up a development that's vastly different from the words that are in the precinct. So,
The part of the strategy to deal with that also comes with the delivery method. Our statement of intent highlights 2 delivery methods for Flemington Road Corridor. We're not proposing to sell parcels of land in robo for private developers, so we're proposing 2 methods. One is LDA development, and the other one is a joint venture. And with the LDA development, we're contemplating, we haven't fully decided, but we're contemplating a scheme that we've used in other examples, in Gungahlin most recently, where we will have a project delivery agreement with a developer, and so therefore, as part of developing the site, they would have to submit a design, submit a bond, and we would hold on to that bond if they didn't comply with their submitted design. So it's a way of ensuring quality outcomes and maintaining control on the outcomes.
So it's a bit like development control plans block by block.
I guess you could call it like that, but it's all about having some control on the ultimate design.
Okay. I think we'd be keen to be involved right through that step. Barry?
I've got a couple of questions. One is, it was said earlier on that this has been taken into consideration, our submissions rather have been taken into consideration by APO since this was published. 6 months ago, couldn't we have 2 or 3 or 4 updates a year? Not necessarily week by week, but surely can do better than 6 months and we still haven't got an update.
Sure, I'll take that on board. And my apologies.
As I said, it doesn't have to be week by week or even month by month, but you know, every third or fourth month. If there is a requirement for it, obviously, if there's no requirement, don't do it just for the sake of doing it. But if there has been some reasonable changes. Second one, it's a bit low level, but the word was mentioned there about the frontage and all that. Why was about, I think it's 8 mature gum trees bulldozed down opposite the Harrison School area of Flemington Road? The tree doctor said that they were hopeless or something like that, but yeah, I find it hard to believe every single one of them in the same boat. These are real 80, 90-year-old ones, and apart from the 8 across alongside the corridor, there were about another 6 further back that also got the bulldozer treatment. Can't be put back, but it's a shame it happened.
I've had a similar issue. It might have been around the same trees raised. My understanding was that, or certainly there is significant tree legislation, so any tree that is deemed by the conservator to be significant must be protected. There is an example within the Harrison School grounds. There's a couple of other fairly famous examples around the city that a developer landowner jokingly referred to as the $1 million trees because the costs
and Reynolds tree.
the costs associated with conserving them that run into hundreds and sometimes up to $1 million. Now that's, you know, we have that legislation, and that's the economic reality of it. But nonetheless, my understanding is that any of the trees that would have been taken would have been assessed and obviously not deemed to be in that significant category. Now, in terms of, I couldn't be absolute that that's the 8 trees you're talking about. I'd have to get some more detailed advice on that. But there is a clear mechanism and process for assessing any trees that are...
I'm aware of that, but I was a bit surprised the whole lot.
Sure.
The whole lot went
I'd have to
yeah,
take that
not
on
1 out of 12 or something like that.
Yeah.
Within the boundaries of the Flemington development,
Yeah.
as opposed to, the Franklin development,
Yeah.
as opposed to the Flemington Road corridor. But
Well, they're right on the edge, though, alongside
Yeah.
the road. Or, as I said, 8 of them were, and there was another 4.
Yeah.
Or
So
6.
right on the edge of the road, that's a significant factor then, because as far as I'm aware, ACLA deems that no tree that's in a road reserve is a significant tree.
No, I don't think that's the case. No.
I remain perplexed at the degree of earthworks that go on with LDA developments. Where I come from, developers bulldoze roads and they touch the rest of it as little as possible. Here we've got scrapers just working 7 days a week and totally reshaping the land. It concerns me, speaking about trees, that one of the areas to be preserved is Red Hill, which is an indigenous cultural area that was red ochre pits, and so it's the rocky hill at the top end of Franklin. And they've cut the ground out considerably around it, which would have the effect of considerably changing the water table that the trees on that hill rely on to survive. So they'll probably have a 20-year death ahead of them as a result of water table change. But apart from that, there's also, with all this major reshaping of the subdivision, on M-class clay in the first place, you turn around then and make great big patches of fill everywhere, and for the people who buy those blocks of land and don't look real close, they find afterwards the soil tech report shows that they've got to put 20 or 30 piers down under their slab, and it costs them a bomb extra to build. Why is it that the LDA has such a problem with nature when it comes to the way they do their subdivisions? Why can't you just build the roads and leave the rest of the dirt alone?
Okay, answer that question. We don't have nature, and we actually try to minimise our earthworks.
It's my turn of phrase. Andrew's getting this.
That's fine. We try to minimise earthworks like any developer because it's a cost. Franklin is a fairly